Following the outbreak of World War I, Jamal Pasha determined to tighten his control over Syria, attacking dissidents ruthlessly. He arrested al-Fatah members, and 21 Arabs were hanged in the city squares of Damascus and Beirut on the morning of May 6, 1915. This event is commemorated as Martyrs' Day, a national holiday in Syria and Lebanon. The events leading to Syria's momentarily independence began in the Arabian Peninsula. The British, anxious for Arab support against the Ottomans in the war, and desiring to strengthen their position vis-a-vis the French in the determination of the Middle East's future, and Sharif Hussein of Mecca, leader of the Hashemite family, and an Ottoman appointee of the Hejaz, to lead the Arabs into revolt. In return, the British gave certain assurances, which Hussein interpreted as the endorsement for his eventual kingship of the Arab world. From the Arab nationalists in Damascus came pleas for the Hashemites to assume leadership. Hussein accepted, and on June 5, 1916, the Hijazi tribesmen, led by Hussein's son, and later advised by British officer T.E. Lawrence, rose up against the Turks, and in October 1918, Faisal entered Damascus as a proud hero. Faisal was military governor, assuming immediate control over Syria, except for areas along the Mediterranean coast, where French troops were garrisoned. In July 1919, he convinced the General Syrian Congress, which declared Syrian sovereignty and freedom. In March 1920, the Congress proclaimed Faisal as King of Syria. Faisal and his Syrian supporters began to reconstruct Syria after the devastation of Jamal Pasha and the British. They declared Arabic the official language of Syria and proceeded to have school textbooks, the law, the enforcement, even the jury system, translated from Turkish to Arabic. They opened schools, hospitals, and started new ones as well, including the Faculty of Law and Syrian University and the Arab Academy in Damascus. Also, Faisal appointed a committee to begin drawing up a constitution for the newly independent Syria, but not for long. In the area still held by the French, the Syrians continued to revolt. In the Jabal near the Yusiniana, along the Lakatil in the northwest, there was an uprising against the French troops in May 1919, wherever they went. Along the Turkish border, the nationalist leader Ibrahim Hananu incited yet another rebellion in July 1919. The French defeated these attempts by Hananu, but none before Hananu or Faisal had acquired the permanent places in Syrian history as the heroes of Syria. There were three forces that worked against Arab nationalism and Faisal's budding Arab monarchy. One was Britain's earlier interest in keeping eastern Mesopotamia under control, both as a counter to Russian influence in the north and to protect the oil interests in the area. The second was Zionism and the Jewish interest in Palestine. Although the British had promised to recognize an independent Arab state, or a confederation of Arab states in the Sykes-Picot Agreement, on the 16th of May 1916, the Balfour Declaration in 1917 had promised the Zionists a national home in Palestine. The two promises were in direct conflict, as well as the imperial ambitions in the region. The third force was France's determination to remain a power in the Middle East. Earlier in the war, France, Britain, Italy, and Russia had secretly decided the fate of the Arabian world just before the Sykes-Picot Agreement. After the Russian October Revolution, the Bolsheviks had published secret diplomatic documents. Along with them was the Sykes-Picot Agreement. In this agreement, signed only 6 months after the British had vaguely promised Hussein an Arab kingdom, Britain and France agreed to give the French predominant influence in what would become Syria and Lebanon, and the British would have predominance of what would become Transjordan and Iraq. At the Versailles Peace Conference of 1919, Woodrow Wilson asked the Arabs to claim their independence by giving consideration. Woodrow Wilson asked the Arabs to claim independence by giving consideration, and Faisal was invited to present the Arab cause. His pleas were unveiling, as was a report recommending Syrian independence under either Faisal or the United States mandate over the country. Disappointed by his failure at Versailles, Faisal returned to Damascus and declared again that Syria was nonetheless free and independent. France and Britain refused to recognize Syria's independence, and the Supreme Allied Council meeting in San Romano, Italy, in April 1920, partitioned the Arab world into mandates, as prearranged by the earlier Sykes-Picot Agreement. Syria became a French mandate, and the French soldiers began to march into Beirut and Damascus. Arab resistance was crushed on the 25th of July 1920. Faisal fled to Europe and did not return to the Middle East until the British made him king of Iraq in 1921. Faisal's brother Abdullah was recognized by the British as the Emirate of the region better known as Transjordan. The boundaries of these states were thus drawn unilaterally by the European allies of World War I. Syria had experienced a brief moment of independence from 1919 to 1920, the loss of which Syrians blamed for the French and the British. These events left a lasting bitterness against the West and a deep-seated determination to unite Arabs into one state. This was a primary basis for modern Arabic nationalism and a center for ideological concept of future pan-Arabic parties, such as the Ba'ath Party, the Arab Socialist Reconstruction Party, and the Arabic National Movement. Aspects of the ideology was formed from the 1950s and 1960s by the infamous and famous Gamal Abdullah Nasser of Egypt. So Syria was the place of the birth of al-Fatah, the Arab nationalists, the place, the goal for the Arab revolt, and of course, one of the key components for the Sykes-Picot Agreement. And there we go, Syria. What a ride! What a show. Anyway, hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed. 4 hours of sleep. Hope it's worth it. Learn something. Yeah, to the end I kind of fumble, and World War One was like 2 sentences long, but I find post Syria to be pretty interesting and makes sense for the bitterness against the West. So hope you enjoyed the 2 minutes of World War One connection. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Jamal Pasha basically stationed a couple of troops there, the 3rd Army Group I think, and that's pretty much Syria in World War One. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something.